If your palms aren't sweating, they should, because Lauren just starts calling randomly from the crowd after me. And then you just got to come up here and tell your story. Hey, thanks for letting me talk a little bit about personalization, because it's something that's really core to the iHeartRadio vision. It's something aspirationally that we have been working toward, and we're striving toward being a real pillar of what we're known for in our consumer relationship. So first step to your vision statement, we spent months and months poring over a really aspirational background picture. We finally found one, and then we spent about an hour crafting some language. I just wanted to introduce you to what it is that we're trying to accomplish. We want to enrich our users' lives by presenting the entire universe of audio as a personalized experience, prioritizing the content they love the most. So a lot of words, but I want you to imagine a funnel, the entire universe of audio at the very top of it. I'm talking about tens of millions of songs, millions of artists, thousands of radio stations, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of podcasts, etc. All of that there, the paradigm of choice, the paralysis of trying to figure out what I want to listen to next. And our job is to be our users' audio companion and help them sort through, sift through all that with what we know about them, what we know they like, the habits, their tastes, their listening location, all of that. And ultimately, I distill our vision statement down into something I think is far more human and far more simple. So when I talk to my team and I want them to be able to wrap their head around someone walking up to them and saying, what do you do and why do you do it? I want them to say, I work for the audio, our audio service is the one that gets me. iHeartRadio, we want it to be the audio service that gets me. When somebody opens our app, I want the content that we present to them to be the content that's most relevant, that's contextualized the best. As they finish listening to a podcast series, I just wrapped up listening to Dr. Death, and I want at the end of that for iHeartRadio to say, oh wow, you like Dr. Death? You've got to check out Dirty John next. And the person to listen and go, nailed it. Great recommendation. It's a Saturday and you're looking for a chill playlist. I want us to have curated the perfect chill playlist for you based on the type of music that we know that you love, based on where we know that you live, and for you to go through that playlist and go, wow, you guys nailed it. You're looking for a radio station. I want you to look in there and based on the music that you like and the location and the morning show that you listen to the one that we recommend to you to be the most relevant. And over time, we build companionship with our users by building trust of getting it right and getting it right and getting it right. How many times will you take a bad movie recommendation from a good friend of yours? Twice? By the third one, you just kind of pat them on the head and you move along. How many times will you let somebody recommend a bad restaurant to you before the next one you just absolutely ignore? So that's what we're working to, is building trust by getting it right over and over and over again. And that's challenging. It's something that obviously we have to plug in and start to rely on machine learning to be able to scale that in kind of a one-to-one relationship. But I wanted to show the byproduct of the times that we have gotten it right. So just a couple of quick metrics of where we have landed on that moment where the person has said, wow, you got me. You guys understood me. So we worked long and hard. We kind of did the human versus machine age-old experiment, and we started building a machine learning personalized Rex engine that took a look at all the cues that we knew about you and said, can we do a better job of recommending podcasts for you than a trending chart or than the list that we had our podcast experts come up with? And it took a long time, and the machine lost over and over and over and over again until one day it didn't. And the day that it didn't, and it started getting better and better, what we started seeing was that people who listened to podcasts from the recommendations engine wound up retaining far more than people who were listening to podcasts that were being recommended through other channels, because the other channels weren't getting it right as frequently. And the more often you get it right, the greater trust you build, and the more that companionship grows between us and our users. So if you listen to one of the machine learning podcast recommended podcasts, then your likelihood of coming back increased 45% over the other ways that you might have discovered podcasts. Two other quick examples. We created a playlist for users called Your Weekly Mixtape. Again, this is based on all the indicators that we knew about the taste, your taste profile, the types of music that you like, the times that you listen to, the radio stations that you listen to, the podcasts that you listen to, everything that we know about you. And we started putting together a weekly personalized playlist for users. And we found that the more and more we got it right, the byproduct of that was that users who were subscribers to one of our on-demand services had a higher retention rate because we built up greater trust with them. And then one last one, my favorite's radio. This one's not machine learning. learning driven. This is actually one where we just take implicit cues from the audience. Just as they're navigating through the app, we do the work for them. Every time they thumb a song up, we go ahead and we shuffle that off and build a playlist for them of all of the songs that they have thumbed up. It means it requires no more work for them. They don't have to go in and search, find the song, add it to the playlist, and do all of that. They just go about their business, kind of a lean back listening experience. And as they are interacting with the app, we go ahead and we do the work for them so that the next time they come back in, there's this personalized listening experience waiting for them. We've collected all the songs that we noticed that you liked. Hopefully that wasn't too creepy for you because we've made this radio station out of that information. And the results of that is that it's the highest return visit station that we have in the app. 45 to 50% is an incredibly high retention rate for somebody listening to a piece of audio on one day and coming back to consume that same piece of audio the next day. So what we found is the more we're able to get it right, the more a person opens the app and goes, you guys get me, that the byproduct is the trust that we build brings them back over and over and over again. And the tie back into the machine learning conversation is that it's challenging to do, it's challenging to scale if you want to get those recommendations to start to become one-to-one to one-to-one instead of here's a cohort recommendation, you kind of fall into this bucket. So this generally should appeal to this bucket. The more we get one-to-one to one, the higher return we see on that. And so the ML is really a requirement for us to be able to scale to that level.
That's awesome, thank you. That was super helpful. I think one of the things we were talking about earlier this week as we were all kind of prepping, getting to know each other, was, Jessica, you brought it up, this concept of like self-fulfilling prophecy. So you've balanced these machine learning algorithms that are supposed to get really, really good at predicting what you like, but then also balancing that with the element of discovery. So how are you guys, you talked a lot about experimentation, like how are each of you guys trying to balance those elements? Jessica, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've noticed within our app is that the stores that are in the top positions, so the stores that are most visible, tend to get the most orders, whether or not they are inherently more popular. So as you start to surface recommendations for consumers, how do you know that you're not actually causing these stores to be ordered from because you're showing them more, right? So one of the ways that we do this, obviously, is through testing. If you have A/B tests, you have a control group that's not necessarily seeing that same algorithm, you can actually compare. But we've also looked at other areas of real estate where we may or may not be testing some of our machine learning algorithms to understand what that latent behavior is. So what is store popularity through, for example, direct search, right? And does that store popularity and that ranking actually match with what we're seeing with behavior? And so we're most dependent on experimentation to get signals because you definitely don't want to create a sort of circle or a cycle where you are seeing really great results, but you are causing those really great results, and it's not that your algorithm is actually better. That would be a fail for us. Chris?
Yeah, I think testing has to be a platform or the foundation of everything that you do. It's easy to say I can go take this data and just do something with it, but if you're not challenging everything you do through testing, it's a hard miss, right? So at Fridays, in any food restaurant, really, we go out and test menu items every day. We test them in all different markets, and so the same shouldn't be. We shouldn't discount the same kind of methodology when it comes to using our data. And so we're constantly running tests to understand, and we like Doordash from a restaurant perspective and even food perspective, we see the top 10 food and it shifts every once in a while, but we have to challenge that methodology. So don't try and boil the ocean, just try and start small and do some small stuff. So.
Next, Chris.
Chris. The danger of personalization is that you wind up narrowing down the scope of what a person is even able to understand your product offers. So you wind up finding that a person likes a specific type of content, a specific type of food, a specific type of audio feature, and you start really customizing and personalizing it down to where they are winding up getting a very narrow sliver of what your product offers. And I think we've probably all been in a really bad Rex environment where over time you go, this feels very narrow and very stifling, and it actually starts to become boring over time. That's the real challenge of personalization, is that you can overdo it. Human in the loop helps to kind of keep that from happening, because editorialization allows us to come in, make recommendations, tell stories. I think as long as that's being contextualized in the right way. Hey, here's something that we're recommending for you because it aligns with a holiday, because it aligns with some pop culture moment, because there is some tangential reason why we think this might be relevant for you. It makes sure that your feedback cycle, the data that you're getting back from the user, is being refreshed constantly, and it's giving that user a breath of fresh air so that they're able to also explore other things. I think also understanding context is really important. So while I may want to listen to and eat certain things on a Friday, that's very different than what I want to do on a Sunday. The music that I want to listen to in the morning, or the content that I want to listen to in the morning, is going to be very different than the content I want to listen to on Saturday night before I'm going out. And so to understand context as well is really important, to try to make sure that you're forcing a little bit of expansion in the recommendations that you're offering and the personalization that you're offering, so it doesn't become so narrowcast.
So we only got about a minute left, and I kind of want to jump to just everybody's at a little bit different parts of their journey, right? You guys probably all started in a little bit different areas. If you had to go back and you had a hindsight 2020 moment, what do you wish you knew? Or maybe who did you wish you involved? Or what would you tell other people that are just at different stages of their journey about how to approach personalization and get to the places that you guys are now? You want to start next, Chris?
Oh, great, I'll jump on that. I wish I'd started sooner. It's because it's daunting, and there are shortcuts to getting there that you can just go at it with brute force and just move along. And so it's easy, I think, a lot of times just to brute force your way along, and you find that you've lost the benefit of time. So getting there faster and getting in, and we've cratered more. I mean, it takes like 300 times to get any of those results. I was talking to somebody earlier. I was like, obviously I only showed the ones that made it look like we came up with smart things. I didn't show the ones where we drove off 50% of a test group because it was just an absolute disaster of an algorithm. But so we have all of these craters that led up to a singular success. So the faster you can work your way through your craters, the faster you can get to your successes. So I wish we had started that process earlier instead of brute forcing it.
Jessica?
Yeah, so I think sort of my advice would be to start simple. I think that a lot of people tend to want to start using really fancy algorithms and may not even have a lot of data to work with. And there's a lot that you can learn just based on simple rules, based on user behavior, based on averages and popularity. And I think that there's a lot of improvement that can be made in a really simplistic way that actually doesn't involve a ton of machine learning or AI. And I would say to start there. Start small, see those early wins, and then build upon that. And as you collect more data, as your company grows and your audience grows, then you can start to get more advanced and to start to optimize. But a lot of the early wins we had were just using sort of common sense, thinking about our own user behavior and applying that to our consumer audience. And we were able to see some really big wins pretty quickly in a pretty simple manner before we started to get more involved and more complex.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Geez, now I got to answer after that. So definitely echo those two things, but I think the biggest and foremost is know the question you're trying to answer. Figure out what you're trying to do, because then you can fail fast and you can do the small stuff. But if you're trying to solve something that's not really the problem, you're going to fail, and you're never going to get past those failures. So know the problem you're trying to do. Is it a customer problem or is it a business problem? Ideally, from the customer guy, you should be solving the customer's issues that align to business goals, not the other way around. Because if you're just trying to solve business problems through this, sometimes you'll succeed, but you won't succeed as far if you can get your customers to do what they want on the flip side. So
Awesome, Chris, Jessica, Chris, thank you so much. This has been great.
thank you.